And she came back, and we sat down in the eval room, and I said, my name is Sarah King. I'll be your physical therapist today. What brings you in? Why are you here? And she said, well, 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's. At that time, all I had was a tremor. I take a lot of pride in taking care of my home and my family, and I was able to do all that. I could do my own laundry. I could make beds. I had energy to cook. I could walk outside with my husband. 1 mile a night is what we would do, and that was our time together. But now, I've stopped doing all of those things. My back hurts, my shoulder hurts, I'm tired all the time. I can't get down on the ground. I can't unload dishes, I can't make beds. And now I've had a couple of falls. And, when I was diagnosed, my physician told me that I would likely be in a wheelchair in 10 years. And, sorry, I don't know why I'm crying. 10 years. And there's not much for me to do besides get my affairs in order, take my medication, and pray for a cure. So I'm not really sure what you can do for me, but I'm here because I had a fall, and my doctor thinks I should come to physical therapy. So as a young, new grad, very green, and mixed with my personality, I thought that, that's not going to be your fate if I can help it, So knowing almost nothing about Parkinson's, I told her, give me 30 days. If we make no impact on your symptoms in 30 days, then we can have a conversation about what life will be like when you're wheelchair bound. So she said, that's a deal. So she came into physical therapy 3 days a week, and as she was coming, I was learning. I would research and see, what do I need to be doing to give her the best outcome? And we would stretch and we would strengthen. And a couple of my patients are here today, so they have an idea of what that actually means in practice. A lot of sweat, a lot of movement, and I just wanted to challenge her in any way I could. I sent her home with exercises. Actually, how many people have done physical therapy? Okay, so you guys have a general idea. Okay, so you know what that's like. We had signed homework. Oh, yeah. Yeah, how are you? And so she came back after 30 days, and we sat down, and I said, okay, tell me, how are things going? And she said, you know what? I have gotten back to doing my laundry. I can unload dishes. I made a meal for my family, and I wasn't exhausted after. My back doesn't hurt, my shoulder doesn't hurt, and I've gotten back to walking with my husband every night. And she said, I didn't think any of these things would be possible for me again, but you gave me my life back. Thank you. And you all have a physical therapist, so if you ever want to make their day or their life, really, just tell them that you've changed their life forever, and they're going to be the happiest physical therapist you've ever met. So in that moment, I knew that this was something that I had to follow. I saw the power of exercise in practice, and I didn't even know what I was doing. Garden, I don't know, there's a big red button appearing on your iPad, just FYI. Okay, and so I went on to, gotta keep going. So I went on to pursue a certification in Parkinson's specific exercise from the POWER program. You may have heard of LSVT BIG. The POWER program is very similar. So I went on to get certified, and I started asking around for resources in Austin. Does that look familiar? And to help, as I was seeing more clients with Parkinson's diagnosis, how can I connect them with resources? So I had heard about the Capital Area Parkinson's Society, and I heard this rumor of these two women whose fathers had Parkinson's that were leading these free exercise classes in a church somewhere for anybody with Parkinson's or their care partners. They were just a myth at that point, an urban legend. And so I sought them out and found, that they were offering free exercise classes, and shortly after, they established Power for Parkinson's as the nonprofit it is today. So I did a lot of volunteering. I tried to work with as many people with Parkinson's as I possibly could, and I ended up and this is a story for another day, but I got a little frustrated with the healthcare system and the fact that Parkinson's is a lifelong disorder and we only get 4 to 6 visits to help you change the rest of your life. I'm good at my job, but I'm not that good. So people started asking if they could see me separately, so I ended up starting my own physical therapy business. It's a story for another day, but I saw people in home and online because at that time, we really didn't have a lot of online resources for people with Parkinson's, and so people would see some YouTube videos, ask me if they could work with me, and I just created a bunch of online programs. And what that led to, I got to work with over 2,200 people, either in person or via our online programs. And when they say everyone with Parkinson's is different, it's true, as you're very well aware. And so what was interesting over the course of that time was I saw something in common with everyone was exercise is helpful. And I saw the power of exercise in action. And I learned about a lot of different strategies beyond exercise that I didn't know about when I started that help people manage their Parkinson's symptoms more effectively. So these are just some of the awesome people I've come in contact with. But over the last 10 years, I've really watched the Parkinson's research world uncover more options than take your medication and pray for a cure, and change the trajectory of the 10 years after diagnosis. So what is the goal now from what I've seen in the Parkinson's world? What do we do when you have a Parkinson's diagnosis? In one bucket, there's day-to-day symptom management, and our best strategies for that right now are medication and exercise. Those are the things that make the biggest difference. If you do them today, they will help you today. The other bucket that I feel like has emerged over the last 10 years is more of the conversation about slowing the progression of Parkinson's. How do we impact symptoms for the long run? And there wasn't this research 10 years ago, but fortunately now we have a lot of powerful research that I'm going to hopefully share with you today that can alter the trajectory of a Parkinson's progression. So our best tools right now are social health, exercise, and nutrition. There are a few more than those, but I only had 30 minutes today to talk to you. So I'm going to share some resources at the end, or if you want to deep dive or go into this kind of field of research any deeper, there's some really good resources. So don't worry about taking notes or missing anything. That'll all be available to you. With disease process modification, the thing I want to talk to you about is the ProPD tool. Has anyone heard of the ProPD tool? Dennis, raise your hand. Okay, not many. So this should have a big impact, I think. So the ProPD tool, you can find it as an app or it's on desktop. It's free. There is a woman named Dr. Lori Mishley. She's out of Bastyr University. Her team created this ProPD tool. And it's designed to help give this ambiguous Parkinson's symptom cloud that everyone has a number. It takes it and boils it down into a numerical, trackable, and shareable score. So you can get it on your iPhone. You can also do it on desktop. The desktop link is propd.org, or you can search for Parkinson's symptom tracking. And what it wanted to do was look at motor and non-motor symptoms and track it over time. So you may be familiar with the test that your neurologist does at your visits where they make you do your fingers and your hands and your ups and downs and all the things. Those are more day-to-day symptom management and, symptom measurement. ProPD is how we track progression over time. So when you go into the app, you get asked about 35 different symptoms. Slowness, constipation, walking, freezing of gait, fatigue, any symptom that can be linked to Parkinson's, they ask you about, and you rate it on a sliding scale of how much it impacts you today. It takes all of those numbers, or all of those scores, and prints out this report. This report doesn't matter as much to all of you. What matters at the end is the numerical score that you get. So when when you do the ProPD tool, on average, individuals score about 550 points at diagnosis. So the more points you have, the more symptoms you have. So higher points means you have more symptoms. This is making sense so far? And then what they found using this tool as they validated it was of all the people who did the ProPD score or the ProPD tool over time, on average, Parkinson's progresses about 38 points per year. That's our number to beat now. So with this tool, you can get your individual number, and then you know that the number to beat is 38. So this trend line right here is that average 38 points per year of progression. These are years after diagnosis, so starting at year 0, most people start out at 550 points, not most people, on average, you start out at 550 points. Dance break, I like it, we'll take it. Okay. And then this is our trajectory over time. So what they kind of laid out here was kind of correlated it to quality of life. The lower your score is, the higher quality of life. I think that makes sense. The less impacted you are by your Parkinson's, the better you feel from day to day. So using the ProPD tool, we can actually take your symptoms, give them a number, and track it over time to see if what we're doing is making a difference. So how do we beat this 38 points per year average? All right. So after the ProPD tool was created, which was around 2015, 2016, Dr. Mishley's team took it and applied it in this Camcare MPD study. And what they did was they were looking for what are called positive deviants. Who's doing better than average that has Parkinson's, and who's doing worse than average? Are they doing anything in common? Or is it just luck of the draw? People who have Parkinson's that are doing better, is it just because they're lucky? Is it, the same, they're doing worse? Is it just because they're lucky? And what they found, thankfully, is that there are behaviors and lifestyle factors that contribute to a lower score over time and a higher score over time. Before I move on, is this making sense, or does anybody have any questions?
No, I think it's great.
Okay, cool. Yeah, great. Me too. Hype woman in front. I like it. Okay. It's great. I didn't even pay her to say that. Okay, so the first bucket we'll talk about, my personal favorite, obviously you're a Power for Parkinson's, so you believe in exercise. Exercise and Parkinson's progression. In general, the people who are exercising that have a Parkinson's diagnosis are doing better than the people who are not exercising. We knew this 10 years ago, generally, and we know this for sure now. What the research is showing is that at a minimum, 3 days per week of 30 minutes per day is what you need to change the trajectory to impact your symptoms in a positive way, lower your ProPD score. The best is actually 7 days a week, 30 minutes per day. So shameless plug for Power for Parkinson's, and Nina did not put me up to this. You can exercise 7 days a week in a way that's specific to Parkinson's for free using Power for Parkinson's whole system. So you can pay me later for that, Nina. Okay, so I'm going to link to, this is the PDF. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to link to this in case you want to take a deep dive. But they asked the question, does frequency of exercise matter when it comes to your personal score? This is 1 day a week, 2 days a week, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And what you can see on here is if it's green, it means that people doing this behavior are doing better than your average, right? So people who are exercising a minimum of 3 days a week are doing 192 points better than average. We're talking about 38 points per year is 1 year's worth of progression. So somebody who's good with numbers can divide 192 by 38, and it's like 6 years, maybe. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I know you want to. Just shout it out if I'm wrong. And what you can see is 4 days is better than 3, 5 is better than 4, 6 is better than 5, and 7 is better than 6. So your physical therapist is right when they tell you you need to exercise every single day. 301 points is about 8 years worth of Parkinson's symptoms. So on average, people exercising 7 days a week are doing about 8 years worth better than people who are just than the average. So what kind of exercise should you be doing? That's usually the next question I get. Oops, this is supposed to come in later. But we don't really have one form of exercise that's better than the other. This is kind of a survey of all the activities that people in the study do. Running, yoga, hiking, walking, tai chi, dance, rock steady boxing, swimming. This one in front of yoga? This one?
What kind of, is it the kind of yoga?
Oh no, it's like, it's the statistical bar. Just regular yoga, just yoga as a bucket. Yeah. You know, people who are running are doing 200 points per average better. Not everybody can run. So outside of the ProPD and the Camcare study research, we know that exercise in general for Parkinson's should be large amplitude, big powerful movements, and it should be challenging. You can get that in a variety of ways. Power for Parkinson's classes definitely fill that description. So 7 days a week is ideal, 3 days is minimum, doing big challenging things. So I tell my clients, if you can read the newspaper while you're pedaling the bicycle, you're probably not challenging yourself enough. I don't know. I mean, I did know, but then I put this over it, and then I will find that out for you though. Okay, let's see. Let's go back, because it'll tell us on this. Biking, hiking, biking, walking. Cool, you're welcome. Okay, exercise is great. So something that I couldn't help but include, when to see a physical therapist. In general, you should see a physical therapist when you're first diagnosed and then for annual checkups so you can get a Parkinson-specific program tailored to your symptoms since everyone's different. And then if you have any type of exacerbation or new symptom that comes on, pain, stiffness, feeling unsteady, and falls. I put this in here because a lot of people don't go to physical therapy until they're having falls. And there's a lot that you can do before you start getting to that point. If we wait till you have some falls, we've got a big hill to climb to get you back to where you started instead of just starting at the beginning and making sure you're optimized is the best course of action. So the POWER program and LSVT BIG are two organizations that certified therapists, and they have databases to search for a therapist near you. If you need a PT, I'd be happy to see you. Okay, nutrition and Parkinson's progression. So our next bucket. There's no specific diet for people diagnosed with Parkinson's. However, we do know brain health and gut health are connected. The health of your gut and the health of your brain, they intermingle. We don't fully understand it. We weren't even having this conversation very much 10 years ago, but now we know this to be true. And what the Camcare study found is that people with Parkinson's have specific nutritional needs. And people who are consuming certain nutrients are doing better than average, and people who consume certain foods are doing worse than average. I'm going to preface this all by saying I'm not a nutritionist. I don't know really the whys deeply. I'm just going to share what the research has shown. So again, this is a PDF. We're going to break it down a little bit. So in general, the foods that are our, green foods, fresh vegetables, fresh fruit, nuts and seeds, fish, wine, yay, olive oil, coconut oil, and fresh herbs. So the theory that Dr. Mishley's team has around why these pop up as the foods that are linked to, slower Parkinson's progression or lower Parkinson's score over time is that they're high in antioxidants. And that the theory is that if you have a neurological diagnosis, you may have higher antioxidant needs than maybe the average person. And these are all 2 to 4 servings a week. So 2 to 4 servings of these, eating vegetables 2 to 4 times throughout your week. I don't feel like it's too lofty of a goal, but it doesn't have to be 2 to 4 servings per day or anything too crazy. So these are kind of our foods this would be a really kind of generally good idea to include. Please don't shoot the messenger for this next slide, okay? All right, so these are red, there are foods in red. Red means they're doing kind of worse than average, that trend line. I'll start from the top because I know maybe our online friends can't see. It's milk, cheese, yogurt, frozen vegetables, pork, chicken, plastic bottled drinks, soda, pasta, beef, canned vegetables, ice cream, fried foods, diet soda, and canned fruit. And again, this is 2 to 4 servings a week. So they just looked at, how often are you consuming these foods and what is your Pro-PD score over time? And in general, you'll notice that, if you have Parkinson's, the dairy aisle is a little bit dicey when you look at this list. And there are other research studies, 5, maybe 6 or more now, increased risk of developing Parkinson's and a worse trajectory with dairy. I'm not sure if we really understand why, but again, just delivering some of the research so that you guys can make your own best decision based off of the research here. Something I will say is that, if you take your Pro-PD score, as I've coached people through some of these things, implementing some changes and then retaking your Pro-PD score 6-8 weeks later and seeing if there is some type of impact might help guide you on how much you want to sustain those changes for the long run. But you can see changes relatively quickly. So, okay, nutrition. So we had exercise, nutrition, and then social health. So this was probably, in the last 10 years, this is probably the #1 most shocking information I learned about Parkinson's. I remember I was in Japan, wherever Susan is. I was in Japan at the World Parkinson Congress, sitting and listening to Dr. Lori Mishley talk about her findings of nutritional needs for people with Parkinson's, and she brought up connection as a nutrient. And I think we all know, as humans, we need connection that helps keep us alive. You guys are all in this room or online. Community is a big part of our health outside of a Parkinson's diagnosis. So she studied social health and looked at it, and it was really quite interesting. So by definition, social health is our ability to interact and form meaningful relationships with other people. The opposite of that, we typically think about loneliness, right? The state of being alone and feeling bad about it, or feeling alone when you're surrounded by other people. And so when Dr. Mishley's team looked at social health, they asked questions about stress and friends and do you feel lonely was a big question that came out. Yes or no, do you feel lonely? And I want to pause before I show you the results because I want you to really think about what your answer would be. Do you feel lonely in general? You don't have to share it, but yes or no. And what they found was that social health may actually be the most important nutrient that people diagnosed with Parkinson's, that humans need in general. But she shared that you can be exercising 7 days a week for 30 minutes a day, but if you answer the question, do you feel lonely, and you say yes, it cancels it out. So people who answered yes, I am lonely, scored almost 10 years worth of progression higher than average. Yeah. So I immediately wanted to switch to, psychology and social work. Give up on exercise, that's but that connection is a nutrient. And shameless plug again, Power for Parkinson's not only offers exercise, but also connection. And so if you have the ability to support Power for Parkinson's, they do it all for free. And most of them, volunteers, have been here for 10 years, doing this for free and providing arguably one of the most powerful programs, I think, to the Parkinson's community. So if you have the ability to support Power for Parkinson's, please do so. Again, not requested by Nina for me to say all of that. This is just a visual. Again, people who answered, no, I'm not lonely, scored significantly lower on their Pro-PD scores over time than people who said yes. But this can be a little daunting, because if you said yes when I asked you that question, it can feel a little bit scary, right? But you can change that. At any moment, you can come to more Parkinson's classes or, choose a connection, but make it as important as your medication, is my professional suggestion and opinion. You don't miss a dose of your medication, so don't miss class. Don't miss your opportunity to connect. Okay, these are some of the resources I mentioned. The handouts are downloadable at livinghealthywithparkinsons.com. This is just a website that the Bastir team put together to deliver the PDFs. They're all available for free for download. I have no association with Dr. Lori Mishley and her team. I just think this is some of the most empowering research I've found around Parkinson's. If you want a deep dive, she also has a really excellent online Parkinson's school that you can find at this website, but you can also just search online Parkinson's school and you should be able to find her program. And then my information is here. I have my cards over there if you want to connect. And then just something in closing, I think we just should say thank you to Power for Parkinson's again, and happy birthday. You really are providing an amazing resource to the people of Austin and the Parkinson's community. So I'm happy to answer questions, none about ice cream, please. I hope that now the message is not, good luck, see what 10 years brings you. I think hopefully this is a more empowering way to look at your next 10 years. So thank you for listening.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That was fantastic. I hope everyone feels inspired.
Woohoo!
And has some new tools to help manage your Parkinson's. That was so helpful.
Oh, good.
So
Well, thank you.
so
Yeah,
much.
happy to share.